Professor Anil Sahasrabudhe. Namaskar, good morning. You know, thank you so much for
Namaskar, good
joining,
morning
sir.
to you also. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining, sir. Chairman NETF, Naac, former chairman AICTE. Considering the sensitivity of the issue in the current times, with respect to the controversy that has been hovering around Naac, which is one of the most critical organizations in the higher education space in the Union of India. We've kept it very confidential with respect to this discussion. We do not want people to cast, unsolicited aspersions, and neither has it been left live on YouTube or any other social media platform. Post this recording, the same shall be shared with the Honorable Chairman so that his views, if at all, need to be edited, then can be put forth into the public domain for comments, including the policyholders, for necessary and due actions going forward in line with the recommendations that come out of this monologue discussion. Stuti Kakkar and General VK Singh, these two, three people, critical people, might join us going forward. In the meantime, Professor Sahasrabudhe, what is Naac? Take us through the genesis of Naac 1994 onwards, his relationship with UGC, and then we proceed as we talk about the various aspects, the evolution of Naac, the current scenario, and obviously the way forward. Over to you, Shri Anil Sahasrabudhe.
Yeah, thank you, Amit Goenka for that nice introduction about why we are meeting here on this platform. As you rightly said, genesis of NAC. NAC stands for National Assessment and Accreditation Council, is an offshoot of University Grants Commission started in the year 1994. I would like to draw parallel. Exactly in the same year, AICT had created a National Board of Accreditation as a part of accreditation process in technical programs. NAC was from the UGC, that means for all general category of programs in the universities, in the colleges, whether everyone was covered. Whereas in NBA, the recognition or accreditation within engineering, mechanical, civil, electrical programs are accredited separately. It is all taken together. If they have a program of BA economics, so psychology, sociology, BSc physics, chemistry, math, everything is taken together. I think this is most important thing to be understood. Then from the actual peer team visit. So the second part is the look at the records, the teaching learning process, all of that. And based on all of this, they also give their weightages for the remaining 30% of the parameters of the total, as I said, the sum total of the value therefore, most of the activity was done by data-driven. That means through DBV, 70%, and the remaining 30% still continued to be based on the peer team visit. During the period of about a decade also, we were at times listening to grievances, complaints, someone who doesn't deserve or getting, someone who does deserve does not get a good grade. These kind of grievances, complaints we were anyway receiving both at the NAC level, UGC level, and the ministry level. And hence, ministry in its very important activity after 2020, that is NEP 2020, wherein quality education is given great priority. And how do you evaluate the quality? It is only through the process of accreditation. That means accreditation has earned great significance post NEP 2020 when it came into existence. So the reforms were required, and 1 or 2 years after going through that, there were several other committees set up by UGC earlier, and then by the NAC itself, and all of that conglomerate of that was to be understood, and a total reform was to be brought in. And ministry formulated a very high-level committee called Dr. Radhakrishnan Committee. Dr. Radhakrishnan happens to be a former chairman of ISRO. He also happens to be the current chairman of the board of governors of one of the most well-known institutes, IIT Kanpur. And he is also the SCIC chairman, subcommittee of the Council of IITs. So he was given the task of formulating reforms, not just for accreditation, but also for processes of approval, processes of ranking, which ministry has started way back in 2016. So all that, sum total of that reform has come into place. The committee met several stakeholders, including at UGC, AICT, universities, vice chancellors, many academicians, industry personnel, and then came out with a very comprehensive report called as Dr. Radhakrishnan Committee report way back in November of the previous year, that is in the year 2013. And it was discussed, debated in the ministry. They were asked to give a PowerPoint presentation after understanding everything. By December, the final report came, and in January, we have already approved the report in principle. But if approval of the report does not mean unless action is taken. So the NAC immediately thereafter, in the very first meeting of the NAC Executive Committee, accepted these recommendations and started working on the premises on which the recommendation was made. The recommendation had...
Before we proceed, just a small interjection. What is the primary difference in deciding the parameters, and when were they last formulated with respect to accreditation of universities, autonomous colleges, vis-a-vis the affiliated colleges? Because these are three different type of entities.
No, I'm going to cover all of these aspects. Okay. Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Please go on, sir.
I'm going to go into very great detail all of these aspects. So, as I said, history of NAC has been 30 years plus, and over a period of time, based on the inputs, based on what are the changes happening around the world, there have been changes happening in the NAC accreditation process. And you rightly mentioned just a while ago that there are three types of institutions, that is universities, which are by itself completely independent autonomous entities. There are institutions which are affiliated to the university but have a lot of autonomy. That means they are called autonomous colleges in terms of curriculum framing, in terms of teaching learning process, in terms of setting of question paper, in terms of evaluation, and they are called as autonomous colleges, but still degrees awarded by the university. And the third class of institutions are the ones who follow in letter and spirit everything that is dictated by the university, and they are called as affiliated colleges. Autonomous colleges are also affiliated, but they have full freedom in terms of entire academics. Whereas just mere affiliated colleges have very little freedom to go around and then change anything. They have to follow the university curriculum, the style of teaching learning process. The examination paper comes from the university. Evaluation is done at the university level. The college has very little role in terms of a small percentage of evaluation of students called as internal assessment. It varies from university to university, ranging from as small as 15-20% to somewhere 25%, not more than that. So the remaining 75% or 80% is governed by the university itself. Whereas autonomous colleges can have all this 100% evaluation on their own. And as far as university is concerned, anyway, they are liberal, they are completely autonomous, and therefore all the processes are decided by the Senate or the academic council. And therefore, there is a variation in the three types of institutions which are going to be accredited by the Naac. And therefore, naturally, therefore, parameters also have to be in line with them based on the amount of autonomy they enjoy. Otherwise, we ask a question which is completely out of syllabus for that particular affiliated college. So there were parameters which were slightly different. Maybe 5-10 parameters were different for each of these three category of institutions. And this is going on for about last more than a 10-year period. And it is in this period that what is noticed is many institutions are not coming forward. There are 2-3 things which I would like to reflect before why Dr. Radhakrishnan Committee came into existence. Number one, the number of universities who are all autonomous, they should have come forward for accreditation on their own. But not more than 40% of the institutions, that is universities, have come forward for accreditation. So large chunk, 60% is still uncovered. When it comes to the colleges, that is affiliated colleges, it is only 16%. So that means 84% of the institutions are not coming forward for accreditation. Now, what are the possible reasons? That is what the committee of Dr. Radhakrishnan went through, and we were also aware, but the committee has given in great detail some of the very important parameters because of which the breadth and depth of accreditation has not reached all the colleges or universities in the country. First one is the entire data that is asked for is very complex, not very easy to fill that form of called self-assessment report. Secondly, we ask for many documents to prove their point. That means, again, a lot of time is lost in creating that data and then submitting. Third one, because of this 8-grade system, starting from C to A++, institutions who are likely to get higher grades based on their work culture, based on the quality excellence that they are following, that is, they will be getting at least A grade, A+ grade. They are certainly willing and coming forward for accreditation. Those which are at the borderline at level of C and B, they will not be enthused, because if there are universities who claim through advertisements, through variety of activities that they are a A+, A++ institution, and some other institution is just at C, they will not feel proud of their being C grade institution, and therefore they will either hide it, or such institutions who are at the borderline may not come forward for accreditation at all. So one is the complexity of the process, difficulty in creating the data and submitting the data, and that too not small, 5-year data. And in India, documentation is so poor that universities struggle to get the 5-year data comprehensively and fill in the form. And in the process, there are 2 things which happen. Either some of the data or some of the activities that the university has done is forgotten and not reflected, and in the process, they get a poorer grade. And there are also institutions who are likely to somehow create data or fudge the data, and to get a higher grade, they may create such kind of bad practices. So all these things were sum total observation of the committee, and therefore the key recommendation of the Dr. Radhakrishnan committee is we want all institutions to be covered under accreditation as per National Education Policy 2020. But we cannot do overnight. 60% universities and about 84% of the colleges, when they are not covered, it is not an easy task. So of course, it is going to be over a period of time, maybe from 5 to 10 years, that all the institutions in the country should have minimum benchmark of quality. That was the first very important observation. Second observation is like the fear of failure in the examination which students have. And that's why Honorable Prime Minister has been constantly taking Pariksha Pe Charcha every year to allay those fears in the minds of the students, similar fears which are there in the management, administration of the institutions in not coming forward for accreditation because of fear of not getting accredited or getting a lower grade like C. We had decided that this committee said we should have no grading system, that is 8 grade system, which is C to A double plus. In place of that, we should give a binary accreditation. That means either an institution is accredited or it is not accredited and not beyond that. That is the first very important thing which will attract all such remaining institutions who had the fear of failure, fear of not getting grade, will feel comfortable and also reduce the number of matrix. Not 100, it should be as low as maybe 50 or 60. That was the recommendation, and accordingly, Naac started deliberating, discussing this for over a period of about 7 to 8 months. And by about last October, November itself, we were ready with our binary accreditation format or the system, which we named it as binary, not binary, but basic accreditation for a different reason, which I will come back a little later. Dr. Radhakrishnan committee also recommended that although we are going to attract all the institutions and try to have minimum benchmark of quality in all the academic institutions in the country, and therefore the number of parameters are reduced, it is made much more simple. Data is asked, and then this should not be for a period of 5 years, but for 3 years, so that there is a constant vigil on the establishment of quality culture in the institution, continuous improvement in the institution. But at the same time, well-performing institutions should not be deprived of their better claim of being better than the rest of the institutions. So the other methodology of accreditation which was suggested by Dr. Radhakrishnan committee is that of maturity-based graded levels. These are not straightforward grades as are given currently in the form of C to A double plus, but these maturity-based graded levels are from level 1, 2, 3, and 4 for national level excellence, and level 5 reserved for international level of excellence. What it entails is, if a college or a university is having a basic accreditation, which is a minimum which every institution has to go through, only then they are eligible for what we call as maturity-based graded level. And depending on the size of the university, size of the college, number of programs, what all processes are in place in the college or university in order to continuously excel, in order to continuously improve the quality of education. That is what is looked at in the maturity-based graded levels. This is exactly the same as what is done in industry, and especially you must have observed in electronic industry, we call a particular company as CMM level 3, CMM level 4, CMM level 5. These are all maturity levels. Some of the IT companies like Infosys, TCS, Wipro, they all keep showing that they are CMM level 5 companies. There are small startups which may be at CMM level 1 or 2. So something similar has to be adapted to the education system, and that is the key recommendation. And that is where we have been working for last 5-6 months in very seriously, because what had happened is, if we had announced the basic accreditation format, which is already ready for about more than 4 months, institutions which are good, they may feel deprived because we are so well and you are treating us as same as that of a very ordinary level of an institution which has a basic accreditation. Vis-a-vis we who are doing pretty well in our entire educational curriculum delivery, the outcomes, the impact that we have created is not seen at all in the process. And therefore, there was a need for launching these two systems jointly, and that's why we are waiting. We are almost very close to understanding the industry level, CMM level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We involved all variety of industries, right from IBM, Microsoft, to many industries like our own Indian enterprises like Infosys, TCS, and many hardware-based industries like automotive, steel, and got inputs from all of them. And what is that industry is expecting from out of this kind of maturity level? And then what kind of processes industry follows and what kind of processes are required to be followed in an academic institution? There is slight difference. And doing a lot of this exercise of 50 odd people coming together several times, we have come to certain conclusions which are still under wraps because we want to have a final discussion before we announce these maturity-based graded level parameters. What are the expectations out of that? And that is almost 80%, 90% work is over. And once this remaining 20% work is done on the maturity-based graded level, both basic accreditation and maturity-based graded levels will be launched and announced by the minister, and then we will start operating on that. Now, I'll come back again to our
Anilji,
basic
just a
accreditation.
second. We've also been joined by Madam Suti Kakkar, as I had earlier said when we started the show. You are probably familiar with her because in my shows even during Corona times, you people appeared together. So she was the Secretary Disability Affairs. She was also chairperson of NCPCR, National Council for Commission for Protection of Child Rights, and she is somebody who also knows the education framework quite a bit because she's also the chancellor of a university called Subharti University. Madam, am I right?
Swami Vivekanand Subharti University. It's
Yeah.
a private university, sir, in Meerut.
So basically,
No, I know.
So here we also have somebody representing bureaucracy vis-a-vis the education sector together. So probably some more interactions. Madam, Dr. Sahasrabudhe was laying emphasis on the genesis of NAC NBA. But yes, we do also want to know from him. थोड़ा अपना कैमरा पीछे डिस्टेंस कर लीजिए मैम. उस दिन की तरह पूरा चेहरा नहीं आ रहा है. Yes. This is.
Sir is looking remarkable with his white beard and his saffron waistcoat.
Thank you, Stuti madam.
That he has come right
Ma'am,
from
Shakal,
Kumbh.
your face is now, very close to the camera. Thoda piche kare. Yes. Now we can see and hear both of you. Let me have it on the gallery framework. Okay, now the issue is UGC is also, going through a lot of troubled waters because of the appointment criterion for the vice chancellors. There have been a lot of issues around UGC over the last 3 years. NAC has also been in existence for 30 plus years now. You're talking about technology, you're also the chairperson. You're also the chair. Anil Bajpayee is also joining us. He's also the vice chancellor and a former lieutenant general. Now, Sahasrabudhe ji, you were also talking about the use of, more and more technology, etc. You're also the chairperson of the NETF, National Education Technology Platform Forum. 10 years back, 10-15 years back, I was discussing at a forum of universities about the relevance of introducing a software, a kind of a ERP or a SaaS. You're talking about CMM, Infosys and all that. They all are pretty mature. They all are, aware of, they also run, support, and also, patronize universities and educational institutions. Over the last 30 years, don't you think that introduction of technology at a much more, scalable form across the accreditation process would have been much more handy than now when we are doing all the firefighting with whatever has happened in hindsight? So throw some light upon two things. The role of UGC still with respect to NAAC, apart from funding and setting this up, how much control does it exercise? Secondly, we would also like to know the role of technology because Vineet Joshi was recently talking to me, to the current Secretary of Education. He told us how important the role of online assessments for NAC would be in the years going forward. Over to you, Sahasrabudhe ji.
Amit ji, I was yet to cover those aspects which you have raised now. Because I was going much in detail because genesis is very important to understand background and all of that. Coming to I'm again repeating that reforms in accreditation suggested by Dr. Radhakrishnan Committee is very significant. Starting from one is binary accreditation, the second one is maturity-based graded levels for the institutions who are performing well. Within nationally, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. It is CMM level 1, 2, 3 equivalent, something like that, which is maturity-based graded level MBGL 1, 2, 3, 4. And those who are exceedingly doing well internationally, they will be given level 5. Anyway, that apart. As far as the basic accreditation is considered, number of parameters, as I said, reduced. For universities, they are 58 in number. For autonomous colleges, 50 in number. And for colleges, as less as 40. And this is also taking care of several other factors which were neglected in the past. You rightly said, Madam is there, Stuti, who is talking about accessibility for people with disadvantaged sections of the society, Divyangjan and all of that. And such educational institutions doing such kind of activity as specialized activity are not recognized at all. We treat everyone with the same scale. One cap fits for all is not possible. There are institutions in remote, rural, tribal areas who have their own difficulties. There are institutions which are specialized nature like law or medicine or hotel management. You can't compare X type of university with Y type of university, and therefore some varied parameters are there. Some are common, of course, and some are slightly different. And this is a very important philosophy because we can't compare apple to mangoes, mangoes to oranges. This
Exactly.
is one big change.
Some are owned by Rajya Sabha MPs. Some are owned by federal structure, non-aligned MPs. Some are owned by NGOs.
Yeah, I don't want to get into those aspects, but certainly there are certainly different type of difficulties and different types of encouragements which are possible for different type of institutions. This is one. And the very nature of education is different. Something like hotel management, you cannot expect research publications. You know that chef in the hotel management institute may be preparing a novel dish every day. That has to be given more value than that of someone publishing international journal papers. So I think each domain is different, is number one. Number two, we want to have as much technology in all of this aspect, as you rightly said when you raised a question. And therefore, instead of physical visits to the campuses, how much of that part can be taken over by the use of technology? Today, we are speaking with each other. You are able to see me, I am able to see you. If I ask you that if you are sitting in your office, you show me how many computers are there, you will be able to rotate your camera and show me. Same way, AICT already had started virtual inspections during COVID because there was no scope of going and traveling. So the same technology is going to be made use of. We have Microsoft Teams. You have several people who can join online from the university or college. A set of experts sitting in their own offices or in their homes can evaluate for full 2 to 3 days entire infrastructure of the college, university, including GPS location. That means they cannot cheat and show the equipment of some other institutions as their own institution phenomenon. And doing all of that, we can even probably do faster than what we would have done, because in a physical campus, you have to travel from one end to the other end. If it is a 400-acre campus, it will take a lot of time. But if people are sitting in workshop, in laboratory, in the classroom, we can directly interact with all the stakeholders of the system and evaluate and then put marks for each of those parameters using technology. But in some cases, human-to-human interaction is also equally important. Therefore, we are also thinking of hybrid model, at least for universities. Universities who claim excellence, I think, what are those processes? How are they following them? The human-to-human interaction also becomes important. Asking students, do they understand what the college or university is doing? Or are the faculty on board completely in terms of the vision of the institution? All of those factors may be in an online is difficult to assess, and therefore there will be a hybrid model where a couple of people may go to the institution to observe the processes, the actual impact that it is creating. But most data which is possible to be seen, shown online is going to be made use of through this. We also have been thinking, and also we are already working on it. It's very close to that. It's called as One Nation, One Data. And as most of the academicians are aware, all the educational institutions have to go to at least 7 to 8 agencies and give their data annually, unfortunately. Number one, if it is a technical program, they have to come to AICT. If there is an architecture or pharmacy program, they have to go to Council of Architecture, Council of Pharmacy. If they have a general deemed university, then they have to go to UGC. And then there is a portal of Ministry of Education called AISHE, All India Survey for Higher Education. If you are applying for accreditation like NBA and Naac, you have to again submit there. And if you are participating in the ranking process, another one. And if it is an affiliated college, state government and the state public university also ask. I think there are 8 to 9 different entities who keep asking data, and our observation is 80% of that is same. How can it be different? For any educational institution, what is the number of seats that you have? How many programs are you running? How many students apply? How do you select the students? What are your course curricula? How do you deliver them? How do you conduct your examination, both internal and external? Are you providing internship opportunities to your students? Are your students getting employment? How many of them are converted into entrepreneurs or create startups? How many research publications or patents are published? I've listed now already. Just off the cuff, I can mention you about 15, 20 parameters, which are all what is asked by every agency. Why should an institution keep supplying this same information to multiple agencies? And at times, because the institution has several other works to do, they put different people on the job and they submit differently, and we get a doubt that they must be manipulating the data. Some places, some institutions certainly must be manipulating the data too, but more importantly, because of not having full awareness of the entire data being asked, what is the meaning of that data, different people submit differently, and we get certainly a doubt that which is correct out of that. And therefore, this one nation, one data, where entire data of the year has to be submitted only once in a year, and all agencies who need this data should extract through that one single portal in the form of APIs. So no double submission, triple submission, 5 times submission at all hereafter. I think that is another reform that has been suggested, and we are also undertaking that reform, part of the Dr. Radhakrishnan committee. So technology use is very important, not just for assessment of the students, assessment of the institutions, accreditation, for ranking. Everywhere, data is the new gold or new oil, and therefore, validation of the data is very significant and important. Therefore, one nation, one data on one side. And another area which we have started very important is giving every student a unique ID called APAR, Automated Permanent Academic Account Registry, APAR. APAR in any Indian language, Hindi में हो, कन्नड़ा में हो, मराठी में हो, पंजाबी में हो, बंगाली में हो, APAR का मतलब अनेक, बहुत, innumerable. इसके यूज केसेस इन्यूमरेबल है, इसीलिए हमने इसका नाम अपार रखा है, ऑटोमेटेड परमानेंट एकेडमिक अकाउंट रजिस्ट्री. It is given as early as when the child is in the nursery at the age of 3, and it's a permanent record. Every variety of learning that the student goes through can be recorded in the ID of the student in a platform called Academic Bank of Credits. And this academic bank, although the name is academic, certainly all the courses that we do, whether it is history, philosophy, psychology, engineering, medicine, law, will also be deposited. Also, credits earned or what are equivalent to credits in terms of internship in an industry or doing extramural courses from some other third-party sources from other universities, or achievements in sports, cultural activities, drama, music, dance also can be deposited here. It is like a lifelong building of the CV or biodata of a candidate, and all authentic. You cannot push your claims into it. Wherever you are doing all these activity, that agency, which is a recognized agency, will push the achievements of the students into the academic bank of credits in the ID of the student, which is an APAR ID. And once this starts happening, untruthfulness will vanish. One nation, one data, when it is shared with multiple agencies, they will see whether they are all correct, because many places there are third-party evaluations for accreditation, for ranking, and all of this is available in the public domain. So competing university or college, if they see that some institution has claimed fake data or false data, there will be complaints received, and in such cases, rigorous action will be taken. In fact, national education policy rightly says about regulation, regulation should be light but tight. Lightness is you trust the system, you trust the institution, you trust the people. But if someone is misusing that trust, there must be heavy penalty on this, and therefore the tight regulation. That is where the tightness comes. I think that philosophy is adopted now by the entire Ministry of Education in terms of whether it is UGC, AICT, and all that. We trust the system, we trust the colleges and universities and the faculty and the students. But if someone is doing fakeness, we will be coming heavily on that, whether it is plagiarism, whether it is giving false data, all of that is going to be taken very strongly. And rightly, when you mentioned in the beginning about the Naac and the kind of thing which has happened in the recent past, I don't want to reiterate. We have taken very strict measures about eliminating some of the experts who are having bad characters and elements based on our inputs from various sources, and adding very many new, honest, high integrity people into the system.
Anilji, what are the parameters on which this kind of a strict exclusion or strict punitive actions are taken against universities apart from data fudging? What are the areas that are taken into consideration? For example, placements. Placements is a very key area. People get admissions based on the placement data. So these kind of parameters, what are they?
भाई साहब, डेटा का मतलब सभी डेटा आया. It is not just research publications. It is all claims that the institution is making in terms of placements. Also, they fudge the data. They fudge the data on even research publications. They are all available in public domain. Still, they try to cheat the system. Wherever we have observed such things, that institution is debarred for 5 years from accreditation already. There have been already few cases of that nature.
Okay, Madam Stuti Kakkar is there with us. She is also the Chancellor of the Subharti University. Madam, would you like to say something with respect to the assessment process of Naac? Then I will also bring in Dr. Anil Bajpai. He is also the VC of a university. So before that, Stuti Kakkar ji, Secretary, former Secretary, Government of India. Madam, your observations on Naac vis-a-vis universities. स्पीकर ऑन कर लीजिए, स्पीकर बंद है.
I know this is old age catching up. It doesn't seem to affect anybody else but me, I think. But thank you so much, Amit, for giving me this opportunity and of hearing Anilji speak about the efforts he's making to improve the regulatory system of educational institutions, on how we have to be transparent use of technology. This APAR card for students, I think, is a wonderful idea. We did the same thing in UDID for disabled people, so that they have one card which shows all the disabilities and all that. Sir, it's a huge task that you have before you. And I think ultimately we need to, as you said, we need to make the system very transparent, very user-friendly, and yet tight. Because I feel in the Naac process, things were not very clear, especially universities like mine, which are set up, private universities, who don't have the same kind of resources as, say, government universities or central universities. And therefore, a system which is simple, easy to understand, will go a long way. Secondly, sir, I feel that we need to encourage, and you would be the best person, our universities on how to achieve global standards. Even though our people are finding work abroad and they're doing very well, but we also need to raise our standards. We need to have some platforms created where there is a interchange of ideas with other universities abroad, so that our students get an exposure. especially since, I mean, you understand I come from Meerut, but this is also, I would say, little out of the mainstream. You know, UP towns are still UP towns. And despite the efforts going in to make them, you know, go global, it will take time. And at least I think 2-3 generations will pass of students before they are able to find meaningful employment. So, sir, we have to think in those directions also. And another thing, sir, when it comes to comparing education with universities, see, I've worked in both the sectors. You get the best people going in for industries. You have a balance sheet, you have a bottom line, everybody understands. But when it comes to the social sectors, and I would put education in the social sectors, sir, the ball game is very different. You don't get the best. The teachers are those who are not there out of a mission or a purpose. They're there because there was nothing else. They've gone into it because they couldn't get into anything else. So that is another way, another area where we need to look very deeply on how do we upgrade the capacity of our human resource. And by doing that, we will be able to upgrade the capacities, the teaching, which they impart to our students. It's a huge task, sir, before you, and I'm so happy to meet you, even though it's only virtually, and hear your views on this entire gamut of education. But like we discovered in NCPCR, there are at least 8 or 9 different types of schools for secondary education, leaving aside my ones for disability. But there were so many, some were with CBSE, some were with somebody else, some were with, so it was, you know, there is a lot of, I can't say kachar pachar, but there, you know, and, I don't mean that, but there is a lot of confusion, sir, in this sector. Maybe it's because some things are in center government, some things are in state government. And somewhere, children of disabled children have been left out, especially the intellectually disabled children who are with schools run by NGOs, even though now I'm associated with a wonderful little NGO called Manno Vikas. We are thinking of Think College. Why deprive the intellectually disabled of thinking about higher education? Because some of them, like the marginally Down syndrome children, marginally intellectually disabled children, they can go to college and it's very aspirational for them. So I won't take much time because Dr. Anil Bajpayee is there and the VC is the one who's on the rider's seat rather
Dr.
than the...
Dr. Bajpayee, let me quickly bring you in. Please introduce yourself and also if you have any observations, because you also run a university, and would you like to say something to Dr. Sastapade?
The Professor Sastapade, I'll correct the latest. I have moved from the Vice Chancellor position in Odisha back to where I live, which is in Bhopal. And I am heading a group of colleges which is affiliated to 2 universities, Barkatullah University of Bhopal and RGPV University in Madhya Pradesh. Now, my observation across, I have been a director in the KIT University, which is a private university currently in the news for all wrong reasons. I was the pro vice chancellor for Prestige University, which is a newly formed university in the state private universities of MP. And currently, I am affiliated to 2 universities. So, my observation and my submission to you is, let's get the universities in order first. The government universities, those which have affiliated colleges. There is rampant corruption, if I may use that word, and we have no way to bypass that system, because he will not accept my students' forms. He will not accept all kinds of things. And a small register. I mean, I will not quote anybody. There was some lady whose husband was a registrar in one of these universities who said, "My husband makes 1 lakh rupees a day." Now, if that is the kind of that is the kind of corruption that is prevailing, then you can imagine what's going to happen. And private colleges, like you rightly said, private colleges fudge data. Private colleges do all sorts of short circuiting because there are people who will help them in the affiliating universities. So my suggestion to this is, why should we submit data? Today everything is online. You can make it completely online. Technology is completely in favor of everything, and we just don't need to submit any data. It's available. It should be picked up, just like 26 AS of the income tax is not something that I need to submit. It's already there. TDS is deducted, everything is there. So we must take a cue from our Prime Minister's digitalization movement, which has put India on such a big map that we have to go that direction. Secondly, sir, you mentioned the word trust a little while ago. You talked about creating trust between university, between accreditation bodies, and between colleges and everything. The biggest trust deficit is between student and college. The student has no longer got any trust in the college. There are lakhs and lakhs of students in a state like Madhya Pradesh, which I am very aware of, and Odisha, who don't attend college, who get a degree without a college, who get a degree, who would take one of those keys which are available for the last 10 years examination system, and in one night's effort they'll clear with flying colors. Now that's the kind of system we have to eradicate. We have to change that. We have to change this completely, because student knows nothing when he comes out, and when a hiring organization comes and looks at it, then he finds that the student is useless. Sir, I will introduce myself as I have been through 3 institutions of India's best. I studied BSc honors in physics at St. Stephen's College of Delhi University. I studied bachelor's in engineering at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. That was way back in 1981. And after that, I went to IIM Ahmedabad for my PGDM. So having been through these 3 universities, which did not even take attendance in class, because the loss was mine, not the institutions. Whereas today, we are struggling to get the student into the classroom. The student is happy staying away from class. Now that's the problem we need to address, sir. And for that, I would seek your advice as to how we can make it more attractive. How can we make it more? How can we incentivize the student to come to a classroom and attend classes? And like ma'am just said, Stuti ma'am mentioned that we are not getting the best teachers in the world today. We're getting those who are left out. We're getting those who are not. So should we not introduce some sort of a method where education is not just a social phenomenon? Goenka ji ने थोड़ी देर पहले ये भी कहा. He said that most universities are owned by politicians, or by business houses, or by bureaucrats, or whatever it may be. But they are rarely owned by educationists. Why? Because the educationist poor man doesn't have the money to install an institution, and therefore, and he can't take money out of it. It's supposed to be a not-for-profit business. Now we do all these things. I come from 30 years of corporate experience. I have seen my teachers who have zero corporate experience, and they are teaching MBA students how to do business. I mean, how on earth, sir? How on earth can any student coming out of an institution which has no faculty member that has ever been onto the road to do any business, how can he produce a child who is going to do big work? And that is why, like ma'am said, the people who are getting our jobs in the US, all the multinationals headed by the Nadellas and the Pichais and the like, are all from IIMs and IITs. Why? Why? Because faculty at IIM and IITs make tons of money, and they are preferred jobs. They make tons of money through consulting, through whatever ways, but they are there for a choice, not by force. And we have to make it lucrative. Unless the whole NEP and every other thing looks at remunerating the faculty better, believe me, sir, this country is not going to rise above what we are.
Dr. Sastramade, thank you, Dr. Bajpayee. Thank you so much. With your succinct inputs, and which were very pointed. Now, let me these things we've been canvassing for times memorial, and for donkey's years we'll continue to do so, I'm sure. But before that, Dr. Sastrabude, what are the steps being taken post the controversy? And first of all, could you throw a little bit of light on this Koneru Lakshmaya, what that university is, where SS Mantha was also associated. Mantha was the former chairman AICT. He was also heading there as the chancellor or vice chancellor. So now, what steps and what was the reason for this, whistle being blown, and what are the steps being taken?
No, I think I will come to that as well, but I would like to answer some of the points raised by both Vajpayee ji and Madam Stuti ji. That is very important for this particular discussion and deliberation. There was a discussion that we need to have good teachers. Absolutely true. Therefore, right from selection of teachers, how we make teaching profession an aspirational one is also very important. But having joined, even though it is a secondary choice of the candidate, having come in, now you have to put in your best efforts. That is very important. And that's why Malviya Mission Teacher Training Centers, there are 113 of them which have been created, and all teachers have to go through this. That is not only understanding NEP, but also various facets of how do you inculcate best practices. And as rightly pointed out, we don't have to make attendance compulsory. If the classes are interesting and exciting and every day you learn something new, students will be gravitating. They will come like honeybees to the flowers. We don't have to attract them for making an attendance as a mandatory thing. And that is why, how do we train teachers in creating excellent content, delivery, how we make use of even technology in terms of animation, visual effects, gamification to make the classes interesting, how other technologies also like AR, VR, XR can be put into practice so that students will feel excitement to come to the school or college every day. That is number one, which Dr. Vajpayee ji was saying. As far as the different types of disability persons are concerned, our Prime Minister rightly called them Divyangjan. And I am repeatedly saying I have my own clear observation about different types of Divyangjans. Each one of them may have something missing, but they have some extraordinary facets in the other domains because they, in fact, sharpen. People with visual impairment write better computer programs than visually people. I'm telling you, I have seen that happening. And therefore, how do we support them is also very, very important. And we have been doing many aspects of that. I will not get into more and more details because they raise some very critical issues and I need to answer them. Otherwise, it appears that government is not doing anything. So secondly, you came to what did it happen and why did it happen? And this is not new phenomenon. We were hearing about it. There was no concrete evidence. Without evidence, we cannot do anything. In this case, we had a clear evidence of people being caught red-handed, and that university is debarred. It was, in fact, I was surprised and shocked. In the earlier cycle, when you talked about Dr. Mantha was the chancellor, it had A double plus grade. Now also for getting A double plus grade, they were doing something nasty. I don't understand whether earlier one was also right or not, but in any case, they are debarred from the entire cycle of accreditation for the next 5 years. They cannot apply for accreditation at all. All 7 experts who were caught red-handed, they are debarred for life from any process of accreditation. We have been cleaning up the list. We have put in some 7, 8 very reputed, honest vice chancellors to look at the entire list of 5,000 people. Already 900 people have been removed from the list. Even if there is a small iota of doubt about the integrity of a person, we have removed them actually. Now, there are many more to be removed. I'm not saying that everything is foolproof as on today. It took me 7.5 years to make AICT completely transparent from what it was in the past. So it is not an easy task. I'm aware of the task on hand. It is not a simple thing, but being committed, I'm sure that we will be able to achieve what we want to achieve as a part of the Viksit Bharat, as part of the philosophy.
Like in the case of the central public sector companies, or madam, just this question, like in the case of the public sector companies or the public sector bodies, we have the CVCs, or probably we have the PITP. PITP is a mechanism through which you can report, and then there is the Whistleblower Act, Whistleblower Policy Act also, 2006, which also protects the whistleblower. Does NAC and the UGC have something in mind which is already similar to the processes in place in these kind of institutions which take care of such corruption issues? Because education and national integrity are inextricably linked and two sides of the same coin. We can keep having cases up and time and again, but until and unless we have a policy in place, we don't have institutions in place, these things will just be an eyewash, if I may put that in that way.
Amit, I think you are taking it too far. First, let me tell you
Yes,
that we are
Amit.
very serious about entire issue of corruption, and Whistleblower Act is as much applicable to educational institution as it to anyone else, actually, for that matter. And therefore, any complaint which is sent, we need to authenticate whether it is just genuinely applied or whether it is through a particular way of targeting someone. That is also possible, and it is happening. Some of them who were not well performing people in the educational institution, especially in the private sector, when they are removed from the job, they will write a variety of anonymous complaints claiming to be whistleblowers. I think that is also a danger. We
Anilji, the
need to have
PITP and
some
the
basic.
whistleblower is Anilji, the PITP Act and the whistleblower, they are not probably not applicable to the private institutions. I think you may introspect into this aspect, and information has to be disseminated to the students and the parents who are the real stakeholders about the existence of such a facility. We may have acts, but if they are not aware, they would not be able to take
There is
advantage.
no question. There is no question of act. Every complaint which I receive, I will ask my director to verify and then answer to me and also to the complainant. This has been practiced right from my AICT days. You send me email. I have challenged students and faculty. Any email,
Anil, I would like to come in.
any WhatsApp message which I receive from any quarter, it will not go unanswered. This is my challenge to anyone in the country.
Anil, let us drop this discussion. We are wasting time in discussing these issues because acts of corruption will happen. Crime will always happen. It is not that you can ever root it out of society. So let us not waste time on these odd cases which have come up. And let us think about the education sector now that we have Anilji here.
Anilji, Professor Sastribude, Anil, by the selection of assessors, could you throw a little bit of light, and probably align that with the Radhakrishnan committee report? Because Radhakrishnan ji has been in the
told Amit ji, we have been assessing the assessors with 360-degree feedback from all corners, only then onboarding them now. Not just Tom, Dick, and Harry is coming out and then saying that I want to be assessor will not be entertained at all.
What is the kind of... Yes, madam. Yes, ma'am.
I think one main reason why, as Dr. Anil Bajpayee mentioned, is about the problem of students not coming to classes is because the education is not translating into jobs, into employment. And not many people are just happy to be a BA pass or MA pass, unless, of course, it's a girl I mean, don't take it as I'm not against the gender or anything, but it is a social phenomena कि लड़की को पढ़ाते हैं जिसमें कहें BA pass लड़की है and then she'll get a better match in the marriage market. But for boys, it is becoming a huge problem. There is a lot of I see in my state a lot of mental health issues which people are undergoing, especially young. They are at the prime of their life and they are made to sit at home. I once went for a UPPSC interview and I was horrified. People have spent 15 years preparing for civil services. And there's nothing else for them to do. They have to be occupied. And yet they're not getting jobs. So we have to look at the entire, gamut, the environment, and think about what should we do? How should we go about? Why should we, make our children wait for employment and get depressed, commit crimes, use their energies. We are wasting talent today. And sir, since I worked in the child sector, I would like to say this. A lot of children are just dropping out, especially boys. Girls to drop out because of logistical problems. But boys drop out because fail हो गए, कुछ हो गए, अड्डा पीट रहे हैं, inappropriate content देख रहे हैं, commit, and then they go on to commit crimes and get into gangs and things. So we really have to, I mean, education is a way of developing your human resource. So what do we do with this human resource? How do we make it employable? How do we put it onto a wholly positive agenda, sir? I think this is the question that we need to answer today.
Dr. Sachrude, after this incident, and there is so much of action being taken, 5 years of the barring of this university, etc. One thing that comes to mind is, say, for example, out of the say 40% universities which have gone for accreditation, how many of them have got upgraded from a B grade to an A grade or A plus or A plus plus? That kind of what do you call? Have you also gone into surveying the details of such upgradations in the recent 2, 3, 4 years?
Amit Bhai, in the last 1.25 years, number of institutions who jumped the grade from the earlier cycle of, say, B to directly A plus or a double plus, that means more than 2 grade jumps. Every institution is aspiring to do better, so they may go ahead with 1 grade jump or sometimes even 2 grade jumps. But anyone who is going beyond 2 grade jumps is a suspect. We have done repeat visit, repeat verification, and many of those, half of them got lesser grade after our re-evaluation. This is the story which we have started building up for the last 1.25 years. Any institution which has come for the first time in accreditation directly goes to A double plus or A plus is also re-evaluated. And there is a physical and there is a data-driven evaluation, which has said 70% and 30%. If the difference in the scores of these two are more than 30% variation, then also we do, whichever is higher, we do re-evaluation of that. And all of this is in already placed, not now, much before, more than a year and a half.
Like the VC meets that we keep hearing about, at a zonal level, regional level, do you also plan to have meets for the owners of these universities and colleges? Because I know the entire crux of the problem lies at the top. The rot stems.
You didn't allow me to speak everything. No, that is the problem actually. So we had held for the basic accreditation 7 workshops in all regions of the country, inviting all the vice chancellors, principals of the colleges in those areas. And then we had 1 full day of deliberation about what we are doing and what is their expectation and what they are feeling as uncomfortable. And based on all of that, this basic accreditation process is in place now.
Anilji, not the vice chancellors, I'm talking about the owners.
The vice chancellors में वो chancellors और owners भी आते हैं. It is not just vice chancellors, even chancellors and owners.
Going forward, what are the 5 steps or say a few steps which are being envisioned in line with the Radhakrishnan committee? Because Radhakrishnan ji has been, when I spoke to him last, he was in a hospital. And that time, he was also in the process of drafting rules for the National Testing Agency, which was interested to clean up the NEET and the quota issue. Fortunately, by that time, quota shifted to Sikar. So any which ways, coming back to Naac. And now, what are the steps?
I have already told you, we have already completely created a basic accreditation format, which is ready for last 4 months. Our problem was we wanted to simultaneously also announce maturity-based graded level, because otherwise the good ones and the bad ones will be treated as all basically only accredited is not a good thing. And therefore that maturity-based graded level has taken a long time with consultation with industry, with academicians, with government and many others. And that is also in the final stages. In the March month, we will announce. In the next 5 years, we want near 100% of all the colleges and universities at least go through the minimum benchmark of quality, which is called as basic accreditation. And all of them should be given mentorship by better institutions who are already at level 4, level 5 in the maturity-based graded level. That is their social responsibility as well to hand, hold, lift institutions which are at the basic level to grade 1 level or maturity-based graded level 2. So we will have a lot of mentorship programs. We will have a lot of support programs. We will have a lot of workshops. And as you rightly said, several vice chancellors and leaders have to have training on why quality is important, why our nation needs this quality education in our country, how we can make effective teaching learning, how lifelong learning is important. Just having got a degree from IISc Bangalore, PhD long ago, and not now continuing to know what is happening in the field of AI, data science, etc., is not going to be useful at all. And that is what we have been trying to drive through both Naac as well as from all the regulatory bodies in the country.
Not there. I mean, finally, I'm just coming toward the end of our discussion because you've given a lot of time. There are issues outside the university also. For example, I would not name the university on this platform, though it is in public domain, owned by one of the MPs of non-aligned party to the center. Now, there is a huge report circulating in the public domain about all kinds of illegal activities around the college, around the universities, wherein the students, are deeply involved, are extensively involved. Those kind of issues should also probably not only AI, inculcation of AI, but also the overall, environment, the ecological effects, the psychological impact, the social impacts of a university's functioning. Those things, are you also looking at that?
Amit, it is not the job of Naac to do that, but we recognize such efforts done by the universities in the accreditation process. That is very important. When I was in AICT, we started a very important program. I think many of them are aware, not aware. I would like to reiterate. We have a 3-week student induction program in all the technical institutions. We call it as Universal Human Values Program with level of course, which is equivalent to 3 credits. And for training or involving students in all of this, we have a 1-week faculty development program on universal human values, which is basically based on creating some questions, asking them to answer and do self-reflection, introspection, rather than saying that this is right, that is wrong. Each one of them is made to realize what is right and what is wrong by themselves. And through that mechanism, many teachers who went through this program of 5 days or 6 days, which is 1 week normally a program, last day when they were giving their remarks, some of them were in tears. They said that we have been teachers for 20 years. We never realized what is the role of a teacher. So today we have understood. I think there are such programs which have been initiated. UGC is also doing now new way. The names may be different, but the essence is the same. It is also being done through what I said, Malviya Mission Teacher Training Center. We have another important committee which is looking into various aspects of entire teacher build-up, teacher development. It is not just for promotion. What is important is how do they deliver, how do they make next generation of citizens who are good citizens. That is what is the sum and substance of that. Thank you very much.
I was actually coming to end the show with this aspect only, also probably bringing in the national integrity and kind of nationalism thoughts which should be inculcated through having parameters which also are related to the gradation. For example, if I talk about the Paramvir Chakras, I just end the show with this. I had embarked upon a program or a project from my forum side to start having installations of 21 Paramvir Chakras across these big university campuses, which are all busy in the process of setting up solar domes. So look at these aspects, probably would be helping the nation. Thank you, Dr. Anil Sastrebudhe. Thank you, Dr. Bajpai. It was wonderful to learn from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jai Hind.
Sir, and I invite you, Anil Saab, to come and visit our university. You'll find it a university with a difference because it was set up with...
I'm aware of the university. I will come there.
Most welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.